Greetings to all. Welcome to Future Upsc Academy. Today we are going to see the 16th May daily current affairs. In this, today we are going to discuss about the important topics of May 16. Our first topic is India-Sri Lanka relations. Next, Citizenship Amendment Act, and third is trade deficit. Indian-Sri Lanka relations comes under GS2 paper, and Citizenship Amendment Act also comes under GS2 paper. Trade deficit comes under GS3 paper. So now we are going to have these three topics in a detailed analysis. Today our first topic is about Indian-Sri Lanka relations. To start with these relations, we have to know about the historical ties foremost. Then after that, we have going to see about its significance, their cooperation in various fields, and the challenges between India and Sri Lanka relations, and how the India have been helped Sri Lanka during its economic rise. All those are we are going to discuss under this topic. First, we have to know about the historical ties. India and Sri Lanka have a long and good history of culture, economic, and political ties before over 2500 years ago. And also here we have to know that Buddhism was introduced to Sri Lanka by the Emperor Ashoka, who is the son of Mahinda in 3rd century BC. Also, it led to the establishment of strong cultural and religious connection between these two countries. And the Chola dynasty of South India has conquered Sri Lanka many times. The Cholas also left a lasting cultural impact on Sri Lanka by influencing in various fields such as art, architecture, and language. Also, India and Sri Lanka have gained independence from British rule in 1947 and 48 respectively. Also, India here played an important role in helping Sri Lanka establishing its democratic institution. Also, with that, we have to know about LTTE, that is Liberation Tigers of Tamil Neelam, was formed in 1976, and it was involved in an armed conflict with Sri Lankan armed force from 1983 to 2009. During this Tamil conflict, India and Sri Lanka signed the 1987 Indian-Sri Lanka Agreement to enact the 13th Amendment and send the Indian peacekeeping force to Sri Lanka. The Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi in 1991 further changed India's attitude towards the ethnic conflict in Sri Lanka, and this civil war in Sri Lanka have ended in the military operation of 2009. Now, what are the significance of this Sri Lanka and Indian relations is, first we have to know about the strategic location. Sri Lanka location in the Indian Ocean region makes it a strategically important hub for India's security interest. Next is military significance. Under this military significance, Sri Lanka is strategically important to Indian Navy as the switching for naval fleets from Bay of Bengal to the Arabian Sea through vice versa that have been around the Sri Lanka. Next, the economic ties. In economic ties, India is one of the Sri Lanka's key trading partners, and these both countries have a strong economic ties. In 2020, India was Sri Lanka's second largest trading partner. In geopolitical importance is the next significance. Under geopolitical importance, Sri Lanka location makes it important for India's Indian Ocean strategy for networking with partners for its aim of establishing an Indian Ocean rim community. The final significance is China presence. India is also concerned about China's increasing presence in Sri Lanka through investments in ports which could potentially be used for military purpose. So these are some of the significance. Next, in how various fields does India and Sri Lanka has its own cooperation? We have to see that. First cooperation is under economic cooperation. India-Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement in 2000 contributed significantly towards the expansion of trade between these two countries. Next, Sri Lanka is one of the India's largest trading partner among the SAARC countries. India, in turn, is Sri Lanka's largest trade partner globally. Next is cultural relation. Under these cultural relations, Buddhism is one of the strong pillars connecting both the nations. Also, the Cultural Cooperation Agreement signed in 1977 forms the basis of periodic cultural exchange programs between these two countries. The Indian Cultural Center in Colombo actively promotes awareness of Indian culture by offering classes in Indian music, dance, and Hindi. It also organizes the International Yoga Day event annually. India Sri Lanka Foundation was set up in 1998 to enhance scientific, technical, educational, and cultural cooperation through civil society exchanges. The next is development cooperation. Sri Lanka is the major recipient of development assistance from the government of India. India's housing project commitment to build 50,000 houses for the war affected as well as estate workers in the plantation areas. India continues to assist in a large number of high-impact community development projects in areas of education, ambulance service all over the island, small and medium enterprises development and training. The next is defense and security cooperation. Since 2012, India has participated in Indo-Sri Lanka Defence Dialogue. It helps to review security and defense cooperation. The defense exercise between India and Sri Lanka is they are Mitra Shakti. This is the joint military exercise, and naval exercises Slinux. This is the naval exercise between India and Sri Lanka. The next is infrastructure development. Infrastructure development. Under this, India signed an agreement to set up a hybrid power projects on northern Sri Lankan islands. Also, various development projects have been started by India at Kankeshanturi port on the northern tip of Sri Lanka, very close to India, and Trincomalee port is in northeastern coast. Next is multilateral cooperation. Under the multilateral cooperation, both the members of organizations such as SAARC and BIMSTEC, the Indian Ocean Rim Association, are part of international organizations such as United Nations, World Trade Organization, World Health Organization, International Monetary Fund, World Bank. Next, what are the challenges seen between India and Sri Lanka relations? The first challenges is strategic issues due to increased Chinese presence. It is one of the major challenge. And the next is fisherman problem. And the third is Kachativu Island. India recognized Sri Lanka's sovereignty over the island under the Kachativu Island Pact in 1974. However, Tamil Nadu claimed that Kachativu falls under the Indian territory. And next is issues with respect to Tamilian interests, and the final challenge is political instability which prevails in Sri Lanka. Now, what are all the things that India helped Sri Lanka during its economic crisis? Sri Lanka has been going through a severe economic crisis caused by a shortage of foreign exchange, resulting in land power cuts, price spirals, and shortage of essential items. India has assured its continued cooperation with Sri Lanka during its economic crisis. What are all the things India have been contributed to Sri Lanka is by enhancing production, by investments and countering the China, global exports, defense and infrastructure creation. In these fields, India have enhanced Sri Lanka by helping during its economic crisis. So that's all from India-Sri Lanka relations. Our next topic is Citizenship Amendment Act. Under this, we are going to see what is Citizenship Amendment Act and what are the key features of it, what are the criticism raised against 2019 CAA, and what are the rules under 2014 Citizenship Amendment have been made, and what are all the impacts of CAA 2019. So these are all we are going to discuss under this. First, the citizenship laws in India derived their origin from the constitution under Article 5 to 11 and the Citizenship Act of 1955 also says this act provided provisions for citizenship by birth, descent, registration and naturalization. What are the key features of CAA 2019 Amendment Act is the first thing is eligibility. The amended Citizenship Act of 1955 to make illegal migrants who are Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, Paris and Christians from Afghanistan, Bangladesh and Pakistan are eligible for Indian citizenship. And who are the illegal migrants? An illegal migrant enters India without a valid travel documents or stays beyond an permitted time, potentially facing prosecution, deportation and imprisonment will be under it. And these communities who entered India or before December 31st, 2014 would not be treated as illegal migrants by providing a path to a naturalization. It attempts the accepts the Muslim community. What are the relaxation have been given? The amendment relaxed the residency requirement from 11 years to 6 years. And for these communities to acquire Indian citizenship by naturalization. Now, what are the exceptions seen under this? The amendments for illegal migrants will not apply to certain tribal under 6 scheduled areas in such as Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram and Tripura as well as states regulated by the inner line permit under the Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulations 1873. This is the only exception for under the CAA. What are the consequences of acquiring citizenship? It states that acquiring citizenship will result such persons being deemed to be citizen of India from the date of their entry into India. And the second is all illegal proceedings against them in respect of their illegal migration or citizenship being closed. Now, what are the procedures of cancellation of OCI registration? The 1955 Act allows the central government to cancel the OCI registration on various grounds, with the amendment adding a new ground of cancellation if the OCI violates government notified law. Now, next we are going to see what are the criticism raised against the CAA of 2019. Many people argue that the law is discriminatory and conflicts with the secular values given in the preamble. Also, they assert that citizenship should not be dependent on faith as it opposes the core principle of equality and non-discrimination in the Constitution. So, here, exclusionary nature, which says that this act selectively includes 6 persecuted religious minorities from specific countries, causing arbitrary and unfair inclusion of such as Ahmadiyyas and Hazaras in Pakistan and Afghanistan, Rohingyas in Myanmar and Tamils in Sri Lanka. So, violation of Article 14, it says that by differentiating on religious grounds for citizenship, the law violates the fundamental right to equality and constitutes anti-secular state action. Date of entry criteria says that the differentiation between migrants who entered India before or after December 31, 2014 lacks a rationale. The Act grants wide discretionary power to the central government regarding the cancellation of OCA registration also. Now, what is the CA Rules 2024 says? The Ministry of Home Affairs has notified the Citizenship Amendment Rules 2024 that would enable the implementation of the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019. What are the key provisions of this is? First, the process. The rules require eligible refugee to submit applications with their affidavits confirming statements, character vouchers from Indian citizens, also by e-application to the district level committee. First, the process it have to be done. Next, the e-application in the district level. Next is the supporting documents. With the supporting documents, applicants must submit a passport, birth certificate, identity documents, land records, or proof of ancestry from Pakistan, Afghanistan, or Bangladesh to support their citizenship application. Next is verification of entry date. Here, the applicants must provide proof of entry before December 31, 2014 through listed 20 documents like FRRO registration, census slips, government IDs, and marriage certificate issued by India, etc. Next, finally, is the digital certificate. Here, the approved applicants will receive a digital citizenship certificate under this. Now, what are the impacts have been seen under the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019 are? The first one is social polarization. Next, the global censure. Next, violent protest. Next, the CAA versus Assam Accord. Next, risk of discrimination. Next, disadvantage of native citizens. And finally, federalism and state response. These are some of the impacts have been created under the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019. That's all from this topic. Next, our topic is about trade deficit. Here, we are going to discuss about what is the trade deficit and what are the major components of it and which causes the trade deficit, balance of payments, and current account deficits. We are going to have a detailed discussion under this topic. Now here, what is trade deficit? Trade deficit is nothing but a negative balance of trade, that is negative balance of trade BOT is the gap between the exports and imports. Now, when money spent on import exceeds that spent on exports in a country is the trade deficit, the way it occurs. The opposite of trade deficit is trade surplus. India tends to have a trade deficit every year because it imports far more than its exports. And here, the trade deficit implies that Indians need dollars or forex more than the rest of the world needs rupees for the trades to settle. Trade deficit put pressures on the rupees exchange rate against the dollar, and persistently high trade deficits tend to weaken that rupees exchange rate. Now, it is also a part of current account deficit. The current account deficit exports and imports in goods and services and transfer payments. It represents a country's transaction with the rest of the world, like the capital account is the component of country's balance of payment. Deficit in current account, the value of goods and services imported exceeds the value of those exported. What are the major components of this? The major components are goods, service, and net earnings on overseas investments and net transfer payments over the period of time. Now here current account balance, how it is calculated. Current account balance, it is calculated as trade gap plus net current transfers in addition of net income from abroad. So by this the current account balance have been calculated. Here trade gap or trade export is calculated by exports minus imports. In such a way it have been calculated. Now what are the causes for this trade deficit? Here fall in export and rise in import volume causes the trade deficit. By rising in import price or fall in export price, India's exports of a particular commodity, says bananas, double in value terms, not because of Indian export more bananas, because the price of bananas in international market has been double. Now what is the trade deficit is good or bad to the economy? If the trade deficit increases, a country's GDP decreases. The higher trade deficit can decrease the local currency value also by impacting the job market and lead it to increase unemployment. If more mobiles are imported or less produced locally, then there will be a less local job sector. With this, we have to know about this balance of payment. Balance of payment, that is of a country, can be defined as systematic statement of all economic transactions of a country with the rest of the world during the specific period, usually 1 year. This BOP accounts economic transactions between a country and the rest of the world are grouped under current account, capital account, and errors and omission. So these are the about BPO. Now what is current account deficit? The current account deficit, it is expected to be the current account of India will widen 10-year high of 3% of GDP in financial year 23 due to the Ukraine war. Now, it also having a size of current account deficit, also the surplus of current account deficit in a various factors. What are those factors that decide this current account deficit? It is an overvalued exchange rate, economic growth, savings rate, decline in competitiveness, higher inflation, recession in other countries, borrowing money, and financial flows, or such things comes under the factors of current account deficit. Now, what it causes the impact to the economy? The cost push inflation due to the supply shortage and rise in import bill. Also decline in forex reserve and higher external borrowing also causes the impact to economy. That's all from trade deficit. Now we'll have editorial analysis. Here under this we are going to discuss about the debate for declaring election day as a holiday. This comes under GS2 for mains paper. Declaring that election day as a paid holiday is to improve the voter participation. The debate surrounding the obligation of employers, particularly small and medium-sized enterprises, to declare a holiday on election. It is also questions the necessity and potential infringement of an individual liberties. The primary aim to declare holiday is to increase the voters' turnout in the election. But the study conducted by Princeton University found that there is no evidence from the natural experiment that the holidays increase voter turnout. It concluded that having an election holiday is not an effective strategy to increase voter turnout. So there is a need to balance between that civic responsibility and personal freedoms. The Constitution of India upholds the right to vote as a fundamental aspect of democratic governance. There, ensuring access to polling booths by granting employees a day off is seen as the practical means to uphold this constitutional mandate. The counter argument says that in a democracy, citizens are granted the liberty to choose whether or not to exercise the right to vote. And also, the employer should have the discretion to determine their operational policies whether to provide a paid holiday on election day or not. Compelling to them to do is infringement of their autonomy and burdens their business, especially a small scale business with limited resources. Now, what is the solution to make a balance between this? The Home Secretary of Tamil Nadu suggested a move by linking paid leave to proof of voting. This is an interesting solution for this debate. This paid leave should be granted only to the employee who have the proof that he or she voted. Their proposal addresses both the importance of civic engagement and the concerns regarding operational disruption. This provides opportunity to exercise the democratic right, also fulfilling their professional responsibilities. It brings balance between individual liberties and societal. Also, the policymakers should explore innovative solutions that encourage voter participation without under the burdening employers. By exploring flexible solutions, India can uphold its democratic ethos while accommodating the dynamic needs of a diverse society. Here, we'll open a comment section for you, and here you can suggest your suggestions regarding how we can improve the voting rate high. So, we are expecting your suggestions. So, that's all from today's topics. To get this PDF download, you can get from our Telegram channel. The link will be provided in the description. Thank you.